Hi everyone, Rip the Knee Pants Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Taylor Swift version of Fearless. Taylor's version Fearless. Singer-songwriter Taylor Swift, she's back, meaning back at the beginning, sort of, to where a lot of her massive success in music began with this newly recorded version of her 2008 record, Fearless. I won't run you through the storied details of the Taylor narrative over the past several years. If you're a hardcore fan, you most likely know them like the back of your hand. Just understand that Taylor's combative relationship with her former label has put her in a place where she's re-recording her older records with them from scratch, dropping versions that now she 100% owns the masters of. And I suppose this is a pretty interesting time for this sort of thing to happen, not just personally but artistically, as 2020 saw Taylor crossing over into indie folk aesthetics with production from Aaron Dessner and Jack Antonoff, which certainly resulted in some of my favorite tracks of hers so far. And now that this metamorphosis has happened, what better time to go back and maybe critically reassess the music that put Taylor on the map. Taylor's version of Fearless basically invites that prospect, especially with its 13 additional tracks of songs from the Platinum edition of the record, along with songs from her vault, many of which have production credits from Antonoff and Dessner, and go slightly in more of a folklore and Evermore direction, so if you love those records and you're looking for another helping of that, I guess you can get it here. As far as the core album here goes, though, it's really a note-for-note recreation of the original with very, very, very minimal alterations, if any, to anything. Even the track times on these two versions are mere seconds within each other. Swift and her producer for this portion of the LP even make sure to nail down subtle details like the little bass embellishments on Tell Me Why. So the point of this new version is clearly not for Taylor to take wide artistic liberties with her own material. Really, it's to once again give fans the album they're familiar with and ultimately end up in a scenario where she owns the album she made, not a vastly different reinterpretation of it. Now, I have seen some debate online over whether or not this whole process is good or even worth it. Personally, I will say I think the production on this new version of Fearless is better. The instrumentation is more balanced, feels richer. There's also something to be said for the maturity and proficiency of Taylor's voice at this point in her career too. But again, this new version is so close to the original, these differences are pretty subtle. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of longtime fans just prefer listening to the older one on account of, I don't know, just some nostalgic attachment to it. Now, I have seen some opinions of this record saying, oh, Taylor is in her 30s, she's a different person now, she can't relate to the songs like she used to, why is she doing this? I suppose it's true, Taylor's not the exact person she was at that point, singing about those experiences as she experienced them, or, you know, was kind of close to having had experienced them. But on the whole, I don't think Taylor's singing or delivery is any less compelling than it was in 08. If I have any qualms with Fearless, it's really with the original writing and instrumental ideas going into it. For sure, there are some good songs on Fearless, but Taylor's lyricism, her song concepts, and her song structures aren't nearly as detailed or as nuanced as they've been on her recent works. Stylistically, it's not all that diverse either, as pretty much every song here delivers a very even blend of country, rock, and pop, to the point where it can be hard to tell which one you're actually hearing. For the most part, what Taylor does on this LP is like a brighter, more melodramatic, kindred spirit version of the country and rock fusions that did so well on pop radio in the 90s. And while this record does have its share of acoustic and rustic instrumentation, it kind of lacks that deep southern twang that even country's most pop-centric artists today showcase. And I don't make this comment to call Taylor's country cred into question. It's really more to point out this is most likely why she had such crossover appeal outside of the country sphere, even on her early stuff. And this is something I think Fearless still has the potential to do, especially with this new version, with rockin' and instantly catchy songs like the title track, Tell Me Why, Change, Love Story. I'm not crazy about a lot of the low-key cuts here, but I will say sentiment-wise, songs like White Horse are kind of ahead of their time, you know, gender politics-wise. And even into her 30s, Taylor can still give a convincing performance on a song about teenage love with the track 15. The song structures and instrumentation, again, are super formulaic, direct, not nearly as adventurous as anything going on in Taylor's recent releases. And while, again, I think the sound of this new version is slightly better, I can't really say it's my style. Many parts of it are too deafeningly bright and reductive. If I were to come on camera here and act like this is some bold reinvention of Fearless that I just now suddenly love, that would kind of be a stretch. Does listening to this new version of Fearless make me appreciate Taylor differently now at this point? Sure. But ultimately, I don't think the point of this is to make the record appeal to a different audience. Now, in addition to the core tracks on the record I like, there are some decent extras too. Mr. Perfectly Fine is a slapper. I love the driving groove and potently bitter lyricism on that track. The very synth-heavy and meditative Don't You is pretty cool too. But really, I think I appreciate this project more in spirit than I do in actuality. Still, though, I am looking forward to hearing how the rest of these re-recorded versions come out. I think I'm feeling a strong screw your old record label on this one, do what you want to do, cool. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video to check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Taylor Swift, Fearless, forever.